Okay, so tell me why this beat works. The first thing that makes this bassline coherent is the sub. Although you can see I'm using 6 different serum instances, I have no separate sub track. This is actually important for me if I use a lot of different rhythmic bass lines or bass shots. It is a lot simpler to keep the sub in sync with the rhythm, with the movement and modulation, than create one separately and just go crazy with modulating it. Of course, I had to make sure that the sub in every instance sounds the same. To do that in Serum 2, I have an initial preset. Every oscillator goes into filter 1, then filter 1 goes into filter 2, and the final filter goes into bus 2. So in the effects, this is where the sub goes, this is where the synth goes, and in the main, I process them together. And on the sub, I'm using the sine fold where I pull back the mix to preserve the sub and then filter it a little to have the overtones that I really need. So even though you are using very different basses, if the sub is coherent, you are good to go. The second thing that is very important to create a bass line that sounds like if it was heavily modulated, like if it was one preset, but with lots of modulation, lots of movement baked into the preset. So just take this one short example. If you have a look on the bass line, you can see that the sub is very coherent, but actually it is 3 different basses. This is one preset, this is the second one, and the third one. So the point is where your bassline goes into a bright direction, so less filtered, follow it with a similar one, so like this. Now the same rule applies on the sustain bass, so if my sustain bass is quite filtered, the offbeat shouldn't be very bright. It's more like a froggy sound that is not very bright, contains a little mid presence, but that is good for a downbeat bass. Now let's be a little creative to see if they work in a different layout. Now with drums. This does not sound good to me, honestly, because the colors of the sound doesn't match, and by colors I mean the dullness, brightness and stuff like these. We can try a different one. Still, it is not grooving that well. So once again, if your sustained bass is quite dull, you don't want to start it on the downbeat, a very bright kind of sound. If you modulate the sustained bass and it gets a little brighter, follow it with a similar bright sound. And the third thing is emphasize the 8s in your bass lines. And by that I mean the modulation, it can be filter or whatever you want. So as you can hear, this bass starts on the very downbeat, but if I add a little fade, it creates a very nice groove, especially if I reverse it. The same thing here, if this bass started here, it will just kill the groove, but because the modulation of the filter starts 1/8 later, it creates a very nice little jump up groove. So for this type of dark minimal drum bass, if you have the first 2 bars, you are good to go. You can start copying it and you can fill up this space, like with this bass. And when you have it, just duplicate it again and choose a different type of bass. And then when you finish it, make another copy and just make a new bass for the last hit. Now have one look on the drums. We have this very nice vocal cut here that plays an important role in this beat, because when we have an empty part here, I place the vocal part here. So again on the 8th, not on the 4th, because this bass have the 8th rhythm, so I didn't want to use the vocal on the 4th, but on the 8th. Now to prove you that this workaround works, let me use this bass to build up something like this. Let's put it right here. The long sustained bass kills the groove for me, so make a cut, and because the filter movement goes from a higher place to a lower place, let's follow this with the bass cut. So let's use a little heavier filtered sound. So reverse it. If you want, you can create a crossfade. Okay, let's drop here something that has the same rhythm. And although you can see these 2 cuts are the same but reversed, they still play a very nice rhythm. And the last thing, we need to add something on the downbeat. Once again, as you can see, matching the filter movements but creating some rhythm of your bass line. It doesn't matter if it's sustained or built up by one shots. it doesn't matter, it will always sound good. If you want to learn more, check Letsynthesize Academy, where you can find very nice start to finish courses.